Hello, and welcome to another Friday, or whenever you're watching this, behind the scenes at a board game publisher. I am Peter Vaughan at Cardboard Alchemy, and we are here in the middle of it's September. We've just released a game into the wild. It's arriving to backers all over the world. Actually, we're at 23 countries right now for Andromeda's Edge, so it's pretty exciting. Welcome, everybody. And we've also got Rosie in the chat, our comms manager, chatting with everybody. We want to talk about what games you're playing, what questions you have about Andromeda's Edge, if you're getting that to the table. But if you're getting something else to the table, we want to know. I'm getting something to the table tonight. We'll talk about that. What I've also been playing, anything behind the scenes about our games here. It's been a busy time because we're also making the game Critter Kitchen. We had last week Alex Cutler, one of the co-designers of Critter Kitchen, taking over the studio. And we played a lot of games with Alex and Peter in the studio. It was fun. Why, hello there. Mark Dandridge says he has Andromeda's Edge on the table right now. Well, of course you do. That's awesome to hear. What faction are you playing right now against Unity? That is our... The Struggle Against Unity is the name of the solo mode, and I know Mark's been posting great pictures in our Facebook group about that struggle is real. Unity is, people have called Unity names this week. Unity is there to come and assimilate the Edge, and you with it, and they've got 9 different commanders you can play against. So we've got hello from the Netherlands. It's nice to hear from you. Lazy Llama, thank you, by the way, just in general. So we'll say thank you for everything that you did on our campaign wall, which is a lot of helpful people out in the community. We love the board game community. I love seeing the helpful people on Discord. I love seeing the helpful people on Facebook. I love seeing on the campaign, people are answering questions to help us out, because the same question does get asked a lot. And so if anyone has that same question to ask right now, one of the things I'm doing this week, just part of my journey, is paying attention to all the questions that get asked on Board Game Geek and trying to compile the most frequently asked ones in a guide that I then also try and link all the time, just to make sure everyone sees that there is a resource. I've definitely been in a game night where I'm like, wait, how does this work? And I can think of 2 ways that it might have been meant by the rules. And it's really helpful when you can just look up and see that question answer. So we're trying to build that. Ooh, Mark's playing the Celluloid Techno Blorps. I love those little blobbies. It's interesting because I just talked about the Weldon Forge Folk in a video that's going to release today as my favorite faction, but maybe my favorite faction is actually the Celluloid Technoblorbs. They both deal with damage in very interesting ways. We have a game, Andromeda's Edge is a game where the technology, the precursor tech that you build on your station, comes in damaged a lot. So most of the factions in the game have to deal with damage, work through the damage, keep trying to repair the damage to score better. And it's a process, but the Weldon Forge Folk deal with damage efficiently, and the Technoblorbs kind of ignore the damage efficiently. And Axel shouts out, Blorp Johnson! That is how the Blorps came to be. It was a character in our first game, Mission Catastrophe. Hey, look at this. AE is on my table too. All right, let's all get Andromeda's Edge on the table, and then let's build like a warp to another game. Each person, one of us, will jump to somebody else's game. See how that goes. The best faction in Andromeda's Edge is the Celluloid Technoblurps. That's why I agree. What's the damage? Exactly what we're talking about, sir. Now, Hungry Gamer in the chat, Hungry Gamer is giving away an all-in edition of Andromeda's Edge. And if you're just tuning in and sort of hearing the buzz about Andromeda's Edge, the all-in edition is an unbelievable value. It's like hundreds of dollars packed in one box, and he's giving one away. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's doing it. And so we should take advantage of this momentary lapse of his sanity and enter this contest. Macaron Synthborn, that's actually the faction that's right behind me. Sergio Chavez painted an amazing faction. These are artificial beings built by other artificial beings. It's containing the sentient memories of another faction. It's unbelievable. All right. You couldn't figure out what to do with the all-in. Yeah, I know it's not a pillow. But you could play it. We do have people waiting for the game to ship, but still playing with their friends. That's awesome to hear, actually. I hope you have a fun time. Can I enter for a friend? Is your friend afraid of Hungry Gamer? Doesn't want to go over there to the Hungry Gamer channel? I mean, you could enter and then win, and then maybe you'll give it to your friend, I guess. Anyway, that's we're fun to see the contest happen. We might also someday have some bonus things to offer as well. We tend to do gifts and prizes and things around here. We're actually going to Essen with a prize. We're going to have a newsletter coming up with some prizes in it. And we're giving away an all-in ourselves at Essen to one of the groups that we partner with all the time. Plus, at our booth, we're doing a Flamecraft signed print. Lots of fun things. Let's get Rosie on so we can talk about all the things we're doing. Hello, Rosie.
I've told Instagram we're live.
Yeah, look at that. How's that Instagram going? You know, it's funny. Instagram has stories. So when I go look at our Instagram, I see, like the set videos, and I miss all the stories because I'm not on there at all times. So
many people are posting pictures of Andromeda's Edge. There's so many tags of people going, "It's so pretty."
Oh, that's cool.
and then people making little reels and stuff. It's awesome. It's really fun, and it's interesting seeing like the shift, because it was just Flamecraft all the time. It was like people tagging it, and then it's just like shifted, which is really, really cool.
I'm really glad that the two ends exist. Inside Andromeda's Edge All-In is a Flamecraft faction and card, and it's kind of neat to connect the two universes of the two biggest games we've made, and they're at the different ends of the spectrum. So
will you connect Critter Kitchen and Andromeda's Edge and just keep the
I love the Connect games. It's the crossover stuff is I love that. I love that. So I want more publishers to do that. I love the fact that Flamecraft made it into one of Jamie Stegmaier's games.
Yes, actually, my laptop is on it.
Oh, cool. We also talked with Bezier that wanted to use Flamecraft.
Yeah.
And Andromeda's Edge. So that's a game that I hope to see in the future where they might have those titles in it. And I love Inside Cardboard Alchemy. You should expect to see some things get merged when we can. As we make more games, we'll think about ways to tie them together because it's fun.
I unboxed Rolling Redux at the weekend, so I'm excited to play it. But I do like that we have like pride of place.
Yeah, look at that.
It's actually really empty. I'm assuming there's just like more to go in it because it's.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, because there's loads of space. It comes with a travel box so that you can transport like enough for 3 players out. So it's just a pretty cool idea. I like the idea of being able to go, I'm just going to take this roll and write somewhere else. Or rolling. It was rolling, yeah. But yeah, I'm excited.
Joe is saying that his wife played Flamecraft and Andromeda's Edge. That's awesome. Did she win as the little Artisan Dragons? Were they firing, as Hungry Gamer says, fire the torpedoes?
You can fit all the modules and expansions in this box. That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
But it's got Meadow, Dog Park, and Flamecraft on it, and I was like, did they know that I would want this?
I like the idea of a travel edition inside. That's really neat.
Yeah,
we'll cram one more thing inside our game boxes, but if we could, I would want that.
Just a little box, and then it says, this storage box holds 50 cards, 2 markers, 2 erasers, and 2 dice. That's enough room to take everything you need for 3 rounds for up to 4 players. And it can also be used as a spacer to keep all the cards in place in your box. Nice. So it's really cool. So yeah, very clever.
Wait, this question, the next project for Cardboard Alchemy, that is a very good question. I can definitely say that our projects will be on crowdfunding because that is the way we operate. We love the community. We love bringing a project to life. We love stretching the heck out of a project, bloating it to beyond what another company might do. We really love that part of making games where you can like see what, I mean, in Critter Kitchen, people suggested all these different deluxe components that we hadn't thought of, and it was great to see that happen. People have been pushing us too on Andromeda's Edge. I think someday Cardboard Alchemy will like dive into magnets, because people keep saying like, oh, you should do like magnets. So crowdfunding is the way to make sure those crazy ideas like sound bases or magnets or translucent parts of minis all are viable, and we love that part. So we will always do that. As far as the next game, it is actually kind of there's a bunch of them kind of jockeying for position, which is interesting. We are working on several at once. But there's also, this might be new for us. There's also the possibility that we would, now we have to get Critter Kitchen out the door. So let's make sure we all know that's coming. But there's this idea that I think Andromeda's Edge is doing quite well right now, reception wise. And there's maybe the room to kind of put it back out there with some additional content. So I don't know. We'll have to see if Luke and Maximus are ready for that mission.
What more can we fit in the box?
Well, the box was designed. I know people say that it's actually full, but this actually was designed to hold a couple more regions and a couple more ship upgrades and even a couple more factions. I mean, there's room. There might even be room for a raider in some place.
Yes, a really flat one.
Yeah, possibly a flatter one than not a hive. We're not doing another hive at this moment. Unless
imagine if you designed it so there was this big, really specific empty space, and everyone's like, "What goes here?" And you're like, "We don't know. Maybe something in the future."
We actually did put an empty space in Critter Kitchen's meeple tray. There's actually several empty spaces, and that was on purpose because we wanted to make sure there's that room. You can't really, unless we were making a different type of game than the game trace oriented ones, where there was a lot of room for, like there's a time when I made Rise of Tribes and we literally designed a space for the expansion. You could purchase the expansion and completely stick the expansion in its box, inside the box. I was really proud of that one because I wanted to make sure Sergio Chavez's art was preserved and you didn't have to throw that box out. But then when we expanded it again, I was like, is there any more room? And if you don't think of that, like when you're first making it, it's very hard. But we literally did it again. The expansion fit inside the expansion inside the box. I was like, what? That's pretty rare to do that.
There's already an intergalactic pancake. What about another raider that fits inside the hive? And I'm like, there could be space there. There could be.
It could be, yeah.
A space chicken. I mean, I'm up for space.
This is a good idea too. We could also do a raise. I've seen people do spacers to raise the lid higher. Now, granted, it's pretty big already.
Tim's here.
Oh, nice, Tim. I've heard Andromeda's Edge is pretty good. Pretty good. You should play the best faction in Andromeda's Edge. I've got the t-shirt on right now. It's the Wolf Guardian helmet.
I actually weirdly have all of them here.
I know, look at this. Well, I've been thinking about the best faction to play in Andromeda's Edge, and I'm kind of amazed that we are going through all the factions and we're not at the end yet.
We are not.
Ridiculous.
We are not at the end.
That is ridiculous. We actually have the Weldon Forge folk coming today. Then we're going to cover the Wolf Guardian Howlers. And finally, we're going to end with the Zodian Warmongers. Last but not least, the very first faction that Maximus and Luke ever showed me was the Zodian Warmongers.
Yeah, and I've been working on a little something for Essen, which is why these are all out, and studying them and figuring out their differences and realizing how beefy the Zodian Warmongers are in terms of they just want to fight.
They have the Death Claw. They have the Death Claw, and it's the thing about the Death Claw is it's got targeting, and it's just what happens with the Zodium Warmongers, if you upgrade to the Deathclaw right away, and I'll be sure to mention this, when we talk more about it, is that the Deathclaw can just kind of hunt people. Basically, it goes on the board and you can just go combat. I'm going to just take you out. I'm going to go after people. That's not my play style. I could see maybe someone like Tim Chewin doing something like that.
Yeah, you want to just like Tim's like the fact you both had all the factions readily available. Well, the thing is that you don't normally need them out all the time, but they are at the bottom of the box, and I keep going to them, and so I've reached a point where I want them out.
No one can really see what's in front of me, but we are in sort of critication approval and Andromeda's Edge fact checking and rule checking and piece inspection. And then I have pieces in front of me right now that it's like a nonstop onslaught of, I need that piece. I need this piece. I need this thing. And my range right now, it's like I got the tactics cards, so I can reference tactics cards at any minute. I've got Critter Kitchen decks of cards and things because we're going over components of Critter Kitchen, and then I've got Raiders, Mortality Spheres, so that we can talk about more. I was just on a phone call with Noah Edelman about the game trays, things that we're seeing in Andromeda's Edge. There's a discussion about whether or not the tray caused any issue with the Mortality Sphere being mortal. Basically, I think we've determined that it's not the tray, but that doesn't mean that Noah's still not going to make a adjustment on future reprints. But we think that it has something to do with the thickness of the plastic that was used. Because all the other Raiders are actually holding up really well, so the Kraken is really not seeing any damages.
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff that we're cooking on. Factions is definitely something we're cooking on, obviously, because we want to tell everyone about these. But with Tim in the channel, I do want to say, just seriously, he put out Andromeda's Edge is my #1 game of all time. And there's a couple things I want to say about that. Besides, that's awesome. First of all, it is a big deal for someone to commit to a game. It's like a big deal. I actually know that a lot of people will kind of draw that out or not say it or kind of play both sides or like give that to a lot of like not commit. For someone to boldly go out there and commit to a game, I don't know that I could name a #1. That's not actually just because, I mean, I'm sure I'm sure it's hard to actually say, I've ranked them. And I actually love that Tim does looks at it often in sort of his videos. He's actually kind of analyzing like what is like, I actually like his top 5. I haven't played all of his top 5. And
what is Tim's top 5? Let us know, Tim, what your top 5 is.
Well, I know Oathsworn is in there. I know that what is the other one that I knew Root was in there for a while, but I don't know if Root's still in there. But anyway, I look at those and I go, you know what? I should like dig in because he takes such care to analyze games and say like, this is why this one is. And then whether or not that's your style or not, you can get a lot from that analysis of the game. So that's the first reason why I'm impressed. The second reason, of course, is the cinematography, the absolute gorgeous presentation of games. Regardless of if it's our game or another person's game, I watch every one of the videos for that presentation of games, which I wish was more in the industry. I love that is taken so seriously in presenting components. Like cards are presented, like they're floating. Like usually they're presented like just in the perfect way you can read the card and see the card and feature the card. The factions for Andromeda's Edge were like displayed in this beautiful, beautiful row. The Raiders were presented just the way that you imagine them in your head. The how to play that he did with the board lighting, just the lighting of the game made me want to jump in and discover Andromeda's Edge. That kind of stuff right there. This is a Critter Kitchen, metaphor, but like chef's kiss. That's so
it's immersive. Like for me, if I can make an immersive feeling to a video or when I'm playing a game, can I make it feel immersive? Then I find it easier to get into it, to sort of think about, have fun with it, tell a story. And I think, I don't know where you were, Tim, like where I actually for a minute thought it was like a fake backdrop. I was like, he's in some picture of an arcade. And I was like, no, you're actually there. Because
here's the top 5 that used to be. Now, I have played Dwellings, obviously, Root, and Blood Rage. I love Blood Rage, but I have not played Oathsworn or Aquatica, and I feel like I've got to play those now. I really do.
Yeah, but now has it all shifted down? Is it? Yeah,
that's what we want to know.
Knocked off the bottom.
Like, bumped one, or does Dwellings like pop out now? I would hate for that to happen, but I wonder. Now, Peter Hayward has a 5 that I just want to say kind of surprised me a little bit, because there's just one which is super light, and then there's Mage Knight and Zolkin, which are, and I actually Resurrecata, I actually don't know where that is in depth.
I mean, this is a perfect example of the how Peter designs games, and that he designs anything he can do from a party game to a big game. So
I would have a hard time putting my top 5 together. I really would.
Yeah. I can't even do like a top number 1 movie. I can't. It's people go, "What's your favorite color?" And I'm like, well. Yeah.
I mean, my top 1 is sort of a conditional top 1. It's like if I'm in the mood for, if I'm in the mood for this is my top 1. If I'm in the mood for that, this is my top 1. But if I had to like,
I have a favorite game. I've told everyone.
You have a favorite game.
It's Railroad Ink. Yeah.
Wait, anything but Railroad Ink.
Yeah. But my reason is because I've played it the most. It is, I can play it in any setting, anywhere. I will always say yes to that game.
And that's fun, by the way. 2 games that I've developed made it into this list.
That's awesome.
By the way, I think
sandwiching. The Andromeda Dwelling is sandwiching.
Sandwiching the rest. I haven't played Scarface 1920 or Class of Cultures. I want to play with those. Yeah, it is hard to put different types of games together, because for a while I really liked I still like Wavelength. Yeah. But how do you rate Wavelength against Andromeda's Edge? Like, there is a night that Wavelength is the best game, and there's a night where Andromeda's Edge is clearly the main course, and that's what you're doing. Yeah. It would be very hard for me to do that. But one of my favorites, which a lot of people actually don't like as much as I do, it's fine, is the City of Big Shoulders. I love the City of Big Shoulders.
It's a great name.
It's so good. I like games that are, so if I was to put a type of category around that one, there's games that are like, they're so drilled into a subject. This is a lot of Lacerda's games, and there's a lot of games that are so focused, like Distilled is extremely focused on making spirits in such a way that the mechanisms are so tied to it. I love when games do that. Now, City of Big Shoulders is not that thematic, but every faction is asymmetrical, so that when you're playing Schwinn Bicycle and starting that company versus starting the Oscar Mayer hot dog company, you actually have different asymmetrical factories and working conditions, and it's I love when they're like diving in like that, and there's all this flavor about the company on the back, and there's all this interesting stuff. I'm gonna have to play. Oh, that's nice. That's very nice.
What's your top 5 board game companies?
No, you know what's funny about those is there's always these lists on Facebook, and you see someone say like, I would buy anything from, and then I look at those and I think myself what I would say, right? And I would say like, Stonemaier would be on the list, and Orange Nebula would be on the list, and there are crowdfunding giants out there, and so you always see, you see a lot of the same companies, right? You just see the same ones being mentioned, and for good reason, right? Chip Theory crushes that list. Like, what Chip Theory does is deliver and deliver and deliver the same quality level, the same high, amazing quality level every time. So when you see those lists, you're like, yes, of course, Chip Theory. So when I see those lists, I never expect to see our company or anything like that, because we're very new or very young, and I don't necessarily expect someone to say like, absolutely, Cardboard Alchemy. But then when that happens, it's just like it's amazing feeling. So thank you for anyone that.
I think it's easy to go like from this designer, because some designers have like such a core iconic.
There we go, right here. I would buy any game by Luke Glory. I agree.
I'm the same with like Tim Fowers or
Tim
Ryan
Fowler,
Laukat.
fantastic, 100%.
Yeah. Just because they have there's like a story, there's like a world that they've built, and it's sort of all within it a little bit. And so, but whereas a lot of publishers will do different things, and you'd be like, they've done this game and then this completely different game, so it may not be for you. So it's harder for me to like say somebody.
That is going to be one of the hardest things I think we do going forward, is that let's say we make another really big game, but we have like our Flamecraft and our Critter Kitchen fans, and they're saying, is that game for me? Like, I really love what you're doing, but should I buy that one? Should I get that one? There was a time when I was working I made a company called Squirmy Beast, and I was thinking about doing like a water level where there was it was basically like a tentacle in the water, and there was a boat on the top with a little fishing line going in, and then there was going to be levels where we were going to say, this game is here, top surface of the water, this game is all the way down here. At Cardboard Alchemy, we could do something with potion bottles or whatever, but I hope to provide some guidance for people eventually, because I know that not every game is, you want to be able to like kind of assess and say, well, I love this company, but should I get this one? Am I going to find the people in my life that want to play Andromeda's Edge or not? That's a fair question. Not everybody should dive in, but it's of course, an honor when someone will actually give us a look no matter what, because they believe in what we're trying to do. I think what we're trying to do at this company is at least have a thorough line of like, there's gonna be quality, there's gonna be replay, there's gonna be deluxeification, there's gonna be, there's gonna be
art for days.
We're trying to make sure each game doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like the fun density is there, because that's what Brad and I used to talk about all the time. So we want people to feel like they can trust, especially also in a customer service sense. We're trying to make sure that you can trust that you're going to get an answer right away. That you're going to, like, no matter if we have to give a hard answer, that we're going to give you that kind of response, that we're going to take care of people, that we're going to make sure the gaming experience, but also the gaming experience and the crowdfunding experience, all of them at the highest level.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the support in that endeavor, because we like to make games, and I love to hear that they're working out. That's very awesome.
Tim's crying, so you've done well. I think Tim and Blue Peter are just sort of loving each other in the comments.
Oh, that's nice.
There's a bunch of questions.
Yeah, let's go over some questions. That's what we're here to do. We're talking about games.
How limited is infantry going to be at this point for Andromeda's Edge stuff?
I want to know what if you can clarify that. I could talk a little bit about what's happening. So first of all, we're getting all of the backers copies. There's no limit yet. Then we're getting all the retail backers, what they ordered. Again, that they should have handled pre-orders. There should be no limit. Then Lucky Duck and all the other partners are ordering 4 retail products in different amounts. I do think what's going to happen, based on what I'm seeing and based on what I saw with Dwellings, that's going to sell out pretty quickly. That the game is going to be, I think the demand is there. So I hope Lucky Duck is ready to go again. But if you're talking about like add-on pieces, because that's also what you might be talking about, like wooden moons or sleeves, things like that, we've actually ordered some more of than what was ordered on the campaign, so that as soon as we're done with fulfillment, that can go into the Cardboard Alchemy shop, so that as there's people who are discovering the standard edition and maybe even buying Supernova from Lucky Duck, they can say, oh, but I also want sleeves or jumbo dice or something like that. Or Exotic Matter is going to take care of all the promos, but maybe somebody just wants to get one they're missing, module pack or Astrodrakis. We're going to try and have as much as we can around. I do know from having worked on Dwellings of Eldervale that with this type of game and with the high ranking, the rating is just rocketing over at Board Game Geek. I think we're going to see very high demand. Now, the good news is I believe that we've set this product up for the best possible success with 2 editions, because I think that means the standard edition can get printed fast. And I think it can also be a good entry point so that someone could say, listen, I don't know if I'm going to drop all of this money on this game yet, but maybe I'll come in and see how the game plays, or I just played it and I'll get the standard, but then I'll upgrade. So I'm hoping that means that with immediate, I was just talking to someone from the Czech Republic, and they said that they loved Dwellings right when it came out, but it took a while for Breaking Games to get Dwellings of Elder, and I understand why. It's very hard commitment to get it out there, but it wasn't in the Czech Republic for a long time, and it wasn't easy to get in any way, and the shipping was hard, even if you wanted an English edition. So he said that just made it hard to share it, hard for it to be in anywhere in their culture, in the stores. And he's like, but because there's a Czech partner immediately for Andromeda's Edge, that Czech partner is dedicated, passionate, and immediately making a version in Czech, which means Andromeda's Edge has definite support out there. So I think that if you have any specific products you're talking about, if you're talking about Andromeda's Edge in general, or if you're talking about add-ons and things, we can talk about that and answer it.
And Mehadwil just said, I really hope they do localization kits. Is that
localization kits? Are you talking about for Andromeda's Edge in French, or are you talking? Oh, because the Supernova kit itself is language independent. I mean, there is a how to put it back in the box sheet in the inside, but honestly, if that was in English, you would really have no. I mean, it's really a visual guide. Nothing else in that box is actually language dependent. So there would not be a problem, say, if there's a country out there that decides not to produce deluxe kits and you get an English kit, you've got deluxe resources and trays and buildings that don't have any language on them. And so you'd be fine. Raiders, the Kraken speaks a language all of its own. We have no idea what it's saying. So.
Did you know the first edit or the first version of Dark Crystal had every creature speaking a different language?
Oh, wow.
And it would be subtitled. And it doesn't start with a voiceover. It starts with just the music and then alien language. And it didn't perform well in preview screenings, and that's why we ended up with everything in English. But my partner found me the original version. It was apparently around, put it on a little USB stick and put it in a paper crystal. We watched it and we were like, this would be terrifying as a kid. Just like no voiceover going, welcome to the land. It's just yeah, it's amazing. Mark Andrews has that one.
This one might just be you. I have never seen that before. I'm trying to think how that would happen. So you are having a game with, first of all, if it's just you and Unity, that might be different than if it's a multiplayer game, because the thing that usually happens is yellow cards are played by people. Maximus Field and Odessa Field are used by multiple people, and tracks are gained. So what you tend to see happen is, if you're only seeing one event, I think you've missed event triggers, is what I think has happened.
Or, I mean, is it possible to not trigger them? Just collect loads of. You can't even.
Well, what I was going to say is that, like, let's say you have an amazing development. So you, out of the gate, you're building a development, and that's 10 points. So you shoot up 10 points that way, and then you shoot up another 10 points, right? Let's say you get a second development, right? So you got 20 points, and then you hit. What you should be hitting is an event when you're about at, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something on a track. What if
you still got to pick up your leaders, and that would cause events?
Well, no, picking up leaders by themselves doesn't cause anything.
If you go to an alliance base that has an event,
there's only 2 that do.
Okay.
The Maximus Field and the Odessa Field. But if no one's playing, if you're playing solo and Unity's not going to those, Unity has its own cards, though, that cause event triggers. I would say that something might have gone wrong, because I think it would. So what you're saying then is you have so much score that when the event happens, it just pushes it. I mean, it's not impossible. You could be building an engine of a lot of points. You could be stalling the event. I just don't see. Most of the time, it's 3 to 5 events caused.
Yeah.
So
it's very easy to forget, though. It's really easy to go, oh,
forget
to move it on.
I had somebody else playing, and they said we never got to the 50 points. And I go, what do you mean you never got there? And they're like, well, we just never got there. And I was like, did you advance the timer? And so, it happens. But that being said, I don't want to rule out the possibility that as we see thousands of people play, all sorts of things are going to happen. I remember playing a game of Dwellings of Eldorado with Luke, and he said, I've never seen that combo. Because you can't see every possible combo happen in these types of things.
There was an awesome combo today. It was an upgrade for the Howlers that gave them moons as well. Did you see that one on the group?
Yeah.
Imagine getting another ship upgrade that also helps you get moons.
Yeah, exactly.
That was amazing. I don't remember all the non-faction specific upgrades. There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. What were you saying with another question as well?
There are a few, yes.
Okay.
Can I place a transport on a planet and get the moon as a free action, move the Hornets to development as a free turn, and build a spaceport?
I like how there's the mind blown emoji. Okay, so you're placing a transport on a planet. Great, you get a moon. That's your action. Then as a free action, you've captured a Hornet off of the hive, which is awesome. You can place that on any region and take the action. So if you got the development office, that's a free action, and now you can build a spaceport. Absolutely. And then the Hornet stays on the development office and becomes an NPC and now wants to sting you if you ever come near it again. Because now it's mad that you just used it for your plans. I was about to say they're evil plans. I don't know if they're evil plans. You're building a spaceport. That sounds pretty cool. I don't know what kind of commerce goes in and out of that spaceport.
I support the space bees all the way. Let's just say.
Can I have a space chicken faction? What? I don't know if that's in the cards. You can dream of space chickens.
Can we do 2 tiles where you can warp through with range 1 for a certain cost trading routes?
I will tell you that was one of my absolute original ideas. I actually asked Luke and Maximus for that, so you're going to have to get in line behind me asking for that very thing. So you'll notice on Andromeda's Edge, there's these half tile spaces, and I was thinking it'd be really neat to put 2 warps right there so that you could enter one side and get to the other side. And at that time, Luke came up with, I believe, the quasars, and made it even harder to get around the map. He was like, I'm going to answer your warp with no, and let's make it more difficult. So I still want it. But you know what I also really want? I want, and this came up in Facebook already, I want 2 games of Andromeda's Edge on 2 different tables. And then I want a tile to warp into the other game. And then you start playing over here in the other game until you warp back. And basically I want to put 2 games together where that interdimensional board travel is happening.
Could you make a tile that is a raider, like a Sarac Pit? Right. And you have to visit it. There's a reason you have to go there, but you have to fight the tile. It's just teeth going down.
That would be so awesome. Yeah.
And that would fit in the box because it's a little bit raised to get those teeth in.
Ooh, I love this. Did Dead of Winter do something like that? Because I love that idea. I think that's really neat. Like you see, I could see Dead of Winter. You make 2 different camps, and then if you meet the other camp, then you're in that camp trying to get food over there. I could see that happening in Dead of Winter. That would be really cool.
There's a couple of escape rooms. There's I think one got split on an unlock one where you're on an island and you get split, which is really cool. You've got to work together. And I know that Flick 'em Up has a separate canyon that you can travel to, which is on another table. Flick 'em Up is a giant bullet flicking cowboy game. You got to get the hats off. It's amazing. I'm really good at it. We don't have the space for it. I think that's Doug's excuse because I want to play it all the time. But yeah, there's a canyon.
Interesting.
Maybe
now I want to make an entire game where that's the whole focus. You just have multiple copies and you can do stuff in other games.
It's a coffee table game where you play it on multiple coffee tables.
I love it.
What else was there? There was a question about, I'm wondering what the reasoning was behind changing the old purple color of the faction ship upgrade to match the other normal upgrades.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. We had, at the time when we were doing the faction upgrades, there was sort of a teal color and there was a purple. So the regular ones were teal, the other ones were purple. And at the time, I think those colors felt very odd when there were 5 player. We were making the stations have individual player colors, and it felt like there should be a more neutral for this for the upgrades. The teal felt really kind of odd. We were kind of I liked it, but I was like, why is this teal choice made? And we didn't really have any reason from Sergio had sort of decided that the nebula was pink and orange, and he had sort of gotten out of teal. And so I was like, all right, so we were doing pink and orange, and Raiders were kind of taking over that space a little bit. And so we were like, all right, so maybe we played with all sorts of different colors. And then we were kind of going, let's make the upgrades gray because they match the space station. They feel right gray, but then we needed to make the special ones stand out. And purple is a player color. So we thought, let's go with orange. It's not a player color, much to Chris Strain's chagrin. So we decided orange fit the nebula. It fit special, and it fit not contrasting a player, and it fit special, and everything else is that steel gray for the upgrades. It was kind of interesting to go down the road of Andromeda's Edge graphic design, because I don't know if anyone knows this, but we did go through several different graphic designers. And that was very hard on the game. I didn't really like bring it up too many times in updates. I didn't want to like depress anyone. Like, well, it's taking longer because we are struggling in the graphic design realm. It was hard. That game was there's a lot of UI, there's a lot of language, and I pushed over and over for different, like we had a different icon for everybody gets a thing. And it was like a recycle icon, and it worked, but then it caused a lot of questions. I think the new one still causes questions, but it doesn't cause as many questions. And you're weighing like, okay, I think we did better on this icon and that icon. And then it's trying to match Sergio's style to, Sergio makes amazing, gorgeous pieces of art. And we're like, let's not have the graphic design get in the way. The original design for the event cards was taking over and almost blocking Sergio's art. And I was like, no, we need to like make sure that it gets out of the way. Yeah. And that's when we came up with the idea of having the event duck actually be the art that's on the event board and match it, which I thought was really fun. But it turned out to be a production kind of nightmare. I won't forget that one. That was another whole month of conversation in manufacturing, because the board had one type of coating and the cards had a different kind of coating, and making them actually the same color when they were print was difficult for the plant. They were actually stressed about that for a while.
Yeah, it's amazing how well they match up.
Yeah, that took some. We had to like convert the files differently to make that work. So
it's things you don't even in the same product. I tried to make 2 backing cards once for pins where they would join, but because of the bleed cutoff, it's really hard to know when they would join. Like there's always going to be some. So even just like doing anything where you're like, these things match.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, I actually looked at the proof. Well, Peter and Alex were out here. I was looking at the proof for Critic Kitchen, and we were looking at the critic card for the base game and the critic card for the expansion. They were slightly a different color, maroon. And I was like, that's not acceptable. I mentioned that to the factory. I was like, these have to be the same. And one of the things that we had that problem on Flamecraft, so we're trying not to let that happen again. But it is kind of a nature of the beast in manufacturing. You cannot hit the exact same color unless you're doing spot color. Unless you're doing you actually pick the color out of it's a much harder process, but you can actually exactly get a certain color. But most illustrations are not one color. Yeah. They're a blend, and then hitting that blend again.
If you got like a very blocky sort of shape game, then yes, you could. But with Sandara's art and the shading and all these kinds of things, it's basically impossible to pick exact colors.
Yeah, I'm actually really proud of, and this is, Brad was mentioning this the other day. We're still a kind of a new company, so we're running into pitfalls as we make different games, and that didn't work. That did work. This absolutely crushed. As we try different things, one of the things that happened to us on Flamecraft that really informed everything was the shop turning a different color when we made a promo card. And in Critter Kitchen, I was all of a sudden very acutely aware that some people would buy the base game. Lucky Duck would order the base game for Critter Kitchen, but maybe not order the expansion at the same time. And what I really didn't want to have happen is the Breaktime card, which is a very, very key mechanism in the expansion. The Breaktime card cannot be a different color than your other 8 cards. If it is, in Critter Kitchen, everyone knows exactly where you're going. So the only way we could solve it that I knew would 100% work is not 100% because it could still have some variance, but we would take the Breaktime card from the expansion and put it in the base game so that it is literally printed with the base game. The downside of that is then in the base game, you have to explain why there's this extra card that nobody needs. And translators have already been like, why is this card here? Well, it's very critical in case the expansion happens.
Yeah.
We tried to do
then
that.
I guess when they get the expansion, they'll be like, oh, there should be, you need to use the cards from the base game with this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That'll be for your communications manager to deal with. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into these. The support of the pieces is a whole thing. Right now, I know Rosie, you're in it a lot. Brad's in it a lot. I'm in it a lot, but also Judy and our team is like, that's her entire mission right now.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's just answering. I think she said the wall just keeps going. And she's just like, I think I'm at the top, and then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just super positive, like really happy people. But there's always going to be things you have to answer. So she's doing amazing. So yeah,
she said something from a customer service point of view that I thought was amusing the other day, which is that she sort of feels obligated to answer back, right? And you know when you're in a conversation and you email and someone says, thank you very much, and you're like, our pleasure. And then they say, I'm so excited. And you realize you should reply, like you can't leave it. So she always has to be like, I'm going to come back in. So she thinks it's very, people are just gushing, and it's really nice. And then she gets, she's like responds to those also, even the ones that are, she could let it go, but she wants talking and saying, thank you.
No, Blue Peter, we're not going to reply with kisses. I mean, actually, some communication software, like on Etsy, you have to have the last word, and eventually you have to say, please let me have the last word, because they will give me a mark down on my customer service if I don't reply to you. Just please, this is the end. So there's if anyone that's British or has seen Father Ted, there's a famous scene where they just refuse to have the other person pay for the tea. And there's just this huge table of cups of tea. I'll pay. Oh, go on. Oh, I'll pay. And there's so many cups of tea, and they start fighting over who's going to pay for the tea. So yeah. Oh, apparently X is hugs in other places. So
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. There was a question about an availability in retail. Will it be more available in retail than Dwellings was? And if so, when do we expect the game to come to retail?
I can answer that. Yes, it is 100% going to be more available than Dwellings. I had the fortunate ability, I had the pleasure of working with Breaking Games on that game, and I was in charge of manufacturing, but I was not in charge of their ordering since then. And I do believe that, but I got to witness, it's very difficult. Jamie Stegmaier has written about this. It's very difficult to anticipate demand. So not saying anything about Breaking Games, but they ordered copies and then they would be out. And one of the things that we knew at Cardboard Alchemy is that we were not prepared to, as a small company, order inventory, hold on to inventory, and gauge the amount of inventory. And I think that Breaking Games did the best they could with that. We know that's not our forte. So what we did instead is we partnered with Lucky Duck Games, who is going to print all the copies in retail. Now, they've already made a plan for the initial burst, and they've ordered tons of copies of Andromeda's Edge, and the release date of retail is November 15th for Andromeda's Edge. And they expect that to be a very big day for, a lot of stores. And going into the holidays, they're going to have Andromeda's Edge base game, which is the standard edition, plays 2 to 4, has 108 modules, and it has 2 event decks and 10 raiders. And then it's got the bulk of the gameplay, but then you can also get the escalation $30 bonus, which gives you 1 player and 5 player, and it gives you another event deck and a new raider and new modules, new ship tiles, 3 new factions. So it's basically a little bit of everything, which you can add to the game. And then you also have they're also taking to retail our Supernova, which is a way to get, I mentioned that earlier, it's just all the bits. It's not the language parts, it's instead the trays and the miniatures and the resources, the upgraded deluxe resources. And then we packaged all of the promo items in something called Exotic Matter. So you get 3 more factions, the aforementioned unbelievable wolves, and then 2 dragon factions. You get those, plus you get more modules and 2 more raiders. So you get like all the stuff.
Yeah.
So all of that's going to retail. So if you have a store that doesn't have it, you can ask them to get it. And Lucky Duck is making it widely available in distribution so that everybody can have it. And then additionally, we're taking it to, there's, I believe, 9 other partners, so 9 other languages, making a total of 10 with English, that are going to have Andromeda's Edge. And they'll come out at various times. Like German is ready to go. Like German is going to be at Essen, and that's Frosted Games. But then there's been all of these other publishers, Czech and Spanish and Hungarian and Chinese, French and Polish. So there's a lot of interest for the game. They're all releasing it at different times. Most of them are releasing in Q1 of 2025.
It's exciting. Do you collect? Are you going to collect? Because you did for Flamecraft. You're going to collect all the languages.
Yeah, we like to collect all of the editions. We have Lucky Duck is great. They give us, like, if Flamecraft comes out in Romanian, we get a copy of the box in Romanian, and we have a wall of all the different Flamecrafts. It's actually behind the times. I think I only have about 21 of the 27. So I gotta work on that. The 27 is. So for Andromeda's Edge, I definitely want all 10 of the standard edition boxes to be displayed. It's really fun to see what people do. Some people don't translate the name. Some people absolutely translate the name. For example, in Czech, the name never stays the same as in English, but in French, it'll usually keep the exact language that was used on the English edition. And
is Andromeda a word that would be translated?
Good question, right?
Because it's a name, right? So
yeah. There's a funny story that the Czech publisher told us, which was that they were going through the game and they were looking at all the different things. And of course, you got to rename the factions possibly. You got to look at everything. And Unity was not a name that could be used in Czech, because Unity roughly translated to the name of a big department store. Basically, it was like Walmart is coming after you. And it didn't seem right. So they said that they had to change it.
Tesco.
You're the struggle against Tesco. Yeah, no, that's not.
I want to play a game where a giant supermarket is coming after you. I think that sounds awesome. Trolleys just trying to eat you up. Like,
yeah.
That's amazing.
That's funny.
Well, speaking of languages, should we mention the other thing we wanted to mention?
Absolutely. Let's talk about something else in the language department, because this is something that so Flamecraft is in 27 languages. One of those languages that was translated to is Thai. And I have gone to Thailand and I've met the people who are making the Thai edition possible. That is actually, it was Tower Tactics, is this company in Thailand, in Bangkok, that is so dedicated. They actually import, I'd say 90% of the games in Thailand. They are actually such a big part of the Thai game market. They translate all the big ones that you could think of. And of course they did Flamecraft. But then they were acquired by Simon. So they're a Simon company right now. And I had a chance to meet with them and with Simon. And they were telling us how Flamecraft Thai does really well. And it's selling out. And they were buying more editions of it. It's one of the places where Flamecraft is doing the best, actually, outside of English. And they said when they came in, they didn't get a chance to be part of the deluxe edition because they came in just a little bit later than that edition. And they asked if they could make a deluxe edition of Flamecraft, which we decided if we were to use Series 2, this would be a brand new start, and it would give them as a partner the chance to have something that they wanted to be a part of. So they are making a limited edition Thai deluxe edition of Flamecraft. And I say it's Thai, but actually, because English is such a prominent language, it's actually it's English with a Thai rule book with a Simon Expo stamp on it. So it's limited edition. It's going to be sold at their Simon Expo this year is in early November. Like it's a weekend, November 3rd, I think.
I know when it is. I think is it? No, I'm getting it's around November. Yeah, I was about to say there's another convention happening in November and I'm mixing them up in my head.
So they're going to have this new edition, which they're very excited about because it's they said that this is an interesting dichotomy of what happens in the Thai gaming scene, which is that there's a lot of appreciation for Flamecraft at its base price, which is 40. They actually would love someday for a Flamecraft like smaller game too, but they also appreciate the luxification. Like there's this other side of the market that says, no, I will go all in. If it's a game that I love, I will go all in. So there's a very excited group of people that are like, yes, this game will be deluxeified in Thailand. So
it's the 2nd to the 3rd of November.
Yeah, 2nd and 3rd. If I know Tom Vassell is going, I was this close to pulling the trigger myself going because I do love Thailand, and Essen is taking a lot of our resources and energy, but we really are excited by this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to tell everybody about it on Facebook in case you're going to the show or you know someone who's going to the show and you want a deluxe Flamecraft. This is a brand new chance to get it. It is probably demanded by, I mean, now the deluxe pieces you can make your own deluxe as well. This one features Series 2 inside the box with the trays. So it is like what people have demanded for a long time. And so it's really exciting to have it.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to see pictures and things.
Yeah,
and share them with people. Hi, Lady Valeria.
Hey, welcome.
Right. But yeah, so it's really exciting, and I hope the event goes really well. I would love to go if it wasn't 2 weeks before I'm getting married. I think that would be a bold move.
Thing to plan. Yes, but yeah, we're excited by that. I also want to hear how people, like to show the deluxe come back. I'd love to hear what people think about it. Because I think that it is I hear retailers say it all the time. They're saying, "Oh my God, this game, people would absolutely go for a big package it all together." So yeah, it's got the Y trays and it's got the wooden pieces in there, and it's got the new dragons with the pink dragon in. We actually had to change the deluxe box to have
space, yeah.
Space for, it's the same tray. So actually the pink dragon and the yellow dragon had to switch spots because the yellow dragon has a bigger prop. It has the bread. So it has to sit where the pink dragon was going to sit.
Because you did design it so that when people got the Series 2, they could technically replace them if they wanted to.
Right. We did make sure that the Series 2 dragons did fit in the box in case you wanted to travel around with the Series 2. And I think as Flamecraft goes on and there's more dragons made, we might have to think about like a minis box or something that like holds them in a fun way, displays on the shelf. I don't know. We need to hear what
lights up. That'd be cool.
That'd be nice. We do like a Tim Chewin video style where it's like the lights and the camera and the action for Flamecraft minis. That's what we want.
I love it.
More dragons.
Matisse was asking, is it possible for Luke to join the fun in one of the streams?
Oh, that'd be fun. Luke actually lives about 3 hours north of here. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to go stream. I'd have to go to him because he's a teacher by day, game designer by night. But I could maybe see about a Luke stream. That would be a lot of fun, actually. See if I could. It's 11 o'clock, so he's teaching science right now. But maybe we could figure out a different stream time and do like a special stream with Luke. That'd be fun. I also want to get a Luke and Maximus head-to-head match again. That would be a lot of fun. Not as fun as the Rosie Will stream. That's true. That was one of the best. One of the best.
I don't know who this Rosie is. Like,
oh yeah, you got to put a Z in there.
Z.
Z, otherwise it's not. It's the multiverse version of Rosie.
Kim, if it was ordered from us, email us. We've got an email address. You can contact us or contact us on Instagram. But yeah, let us know why you've been waiting that long. That's strange. Is Lucky Duck have pre-orders open since June? Is that what that could be?
Yeah, I don't know how that is. I mean, these days you could get it from a lot of different places, so it depends on who's selling it and why that's happening.
Yeah, send us a message. You can Instagram or Facebook or hello at, I've got it typed out somewhere. I'm sure I do. Do I have it? Hello at cardboardalchemy.freshdesk.com, but I doubt you'll be able to remember that. I'll type it up and stick it on in a second. But yeah, that's quite strange.
Rosie, just in case it's also easier, that exact thing, hello at cardboardalchemy.freshdesk.com, is where the cardboardalchemy.com support form goes to. So if you just go to cardboardalchemy.com, there's a support tab. And if you click on that, then that form goes right to the same place.
Yeah, because you never know. Some websites put pre-orders up in the hope they're going to get the products. So just let us know so we can have a look for you. Through Game Nerds. Okay.
Yeah, Game Nerds, I will say, does sometimes do that. Like, for example, when Andromeda's Edge was going to be sold and Game Nerds knew that it was going to be sold, they put up a pre-order and announced a date of October 11th, even though that was made up and it was not true at all. That's not when the retail date is. But sometimes they just get excited, like, oh, let's tell everybody. Yeah. I remember this one campaign, we had a store that was actively trying to sell the game while we were live and tell everybody that it was coming in a different time. And I was like, why are you doing that? But that happens sometimes out there. So
ooh, would you make a new event deck? I mean, there are 3 already.
Event decks. Have you already played all the event decks to death? I mean, we wouldn't rule it out. There's so many fun ideas for what we could do for events. This is what I really love about Andromeda's Edge. The design space that Luke and Maximus created is so open. There could be new factions, there could be new raiders, there could be new tiles, there could be new events, there could be new modules. We did a lot of modules, but there could still be new modules.
I want 4 seasons in a movie.
Ship upgrades could be new. I mean, there are a lot of levers that you can pull in that game, and I think it's an endless supply of different ways that you could twist that game.
Could you see like a crossover factions where it's all different, like other board game monsters and things? So like King of Tokyo baddies, or
hilarious. Yeah, right.
How cool would that be?
I actually for a long time wanted to make Dwellings of Eldervale. Like I wanted, when we first started coming up with Andromeda's Edge, I kind of wanted to make it so the Andromeda's Edge monsters poured in through the portal, and we came up with rules for what happened if they got pulled. Like,
let's go.
There's already a Kraken though in Dwelling, so they're like, this is another version of the Kraken. There's also, Luke and Maximus probably think that's a fun idea and all, but they're trying to think of new games all the time. Yeah. So it's not as fun for them probably to go, let me go make sure my 2 games work together. But I think about that stuff sometimes.
It's really fun. Someone asked if, I think 2 people asked at the exact same time.
Oh, cool.
Could the event decks be mixed in some way?
Now, they were not designed to be mixed, but there is a way you could do it if you're so inclined. If you look at the event decks, you'll notice that they are actually built where there are 2 science, 2 industry, 2 supremacy, 2 commerce, and 2 civilization. So if you were going to mix them and try and keep the same balance that we have in the game, you could mix them and put them together. But there are a couple caveats. Number 1, the Nether Void, the Shadows of the Void is really designed to work. They all work with the Nether Void. And if you were to put some other ones in there that didn't work with the Nether Void, it would not work as well. So if you go to the other 2 decks and you said, oh, I want like half mean, half nice, the only other caveat is you would know if a red one was on the top.
Yeah.
Now, there's a way around that. You could actually deal off the bottom and play a different way, that the bottom is the one that's active and the top is the one that's thrown away. But again, there'll still be some visibility. The other way you could go is you could sleeve them with a sleeve that covers the back so that you solve that problem. But in general, the designers made them to work as a whole, but what could you do with your copy? There's a lot of things you could do with your copy, including trying a half friendly, half mean deck with the best of the best, as long as you decided what you wanted.
If we ever go to a hot country convention, that's what we need to be handing out is bands with the factions on.
There you go.
What would that be? Really cool.
It's really it's a weird size to make something. I realized, when we were like, Sergio, can you put the art like just in this one zone and then we can have UI here?
Yeah, they're so cool. I also love how happy this wolf is. If you look right at his face,
he's really
that is the happiest wolf. It's
so
they're
coming together for the best faction strategy of Andromeda's Edge. They are like, yeah.
Just looking at the little ships going by, having a great time. I love it.
I want to know, we need some threads about, I've tried to say who the best faction is. There's 3 left that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the Forge folk today, but I need to know, what is the actual best faction?
I haven't played them enough. I think you'd have to play all of them a lot to really...
They're excited to be the best faction.
And every time I edit one of the videos, I think, wow, this one, yeah, wow. And then I edit another one and go, but wow, yeah, like, there's so many possibilities. I could see why with any good argument, you could say any of them.
This is a solid argument. Whatever faction I'm beating you with, Peter, that is the best.
I mean, I do love that this one has a clock on it. I think that's just really cool.
Oh, the Plutonians.
It's really cool.
That is Luke's favorite, I think. I think he's picked Maximus. I don't know that Maximus has picked, but Maximus has won against Luke on a stream with the Zodian Warmongers. I have to say that's got to be pretty awesome for him.
Very cool.
Wish I knew what... I'm trying to think if I know what Lauren's is, because she's I think she might actually... We'll have to see if I'm right later. She might just say something like the Techno Blorps.
I thought that's what she would say, but I think I thought it was that and it was something else.
Yeah, it might be the Forge folk that we're going to talk about are pretty good.
Yeah.
I would have a hard time, but I would say that my inner favorite faction, like the one that I always have the most hope going into the game for, the one that I feel the most personally responsible for helping create, is the Nebulon Cloud people. That's the one that I always go like, oh, I am going to destroy this game with this faction. And then it never goes like that, ever. Yeah. Like, but I always think I'm going to drift here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to get this and that. And I'm going to upgrade Cloud Scrapers. I'm going to go in the Nebula all the time. Oh, love that faction.
I think I really just want all the gold. That's usually what I want.
Yeah, the gold.
And also I think it's a little bit easier for first plays to try and get the vault. I think it's like a logical thing to go, okay, get loads of resources, build an engine that gets you loads of resources, get up commerce. But I do like, so the 2 dragons are obviously like up there for me, but I do love the Uzi ones.
Yeah. The Fungus Borgots, they're really addictive also, because they're very, like I think I said this in the video, they're very easy to play and they're very addictive. Like, your buildings are built out of anything and you're getting a resource every turn and you don't have to do anything about that. You just like all you have to do is remember to collect it. That is the biggest, like, you just have to remember, oh yeah, I get nanocarbon, and then you can just build and build and build. And it's very rare that people even realize you've got toxic clouds and then they just get destroyed by running into you.
Yeah,
it was a good one.
That's really cool.
So there's a lot of fun things to try. You were playing a game with people at Essen where it's going to be, what faction are you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
I made a thing.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Oh,
I'm excited to see what people get, and if it drives them to use it the next time they play.
as a sneak peek to that, we've sort of like come up with what we think the 9 most aggressive factions are and the 9 least aggressive, or least mean, or least focused on that type of interaction. And we've split those 9, and one of the update that we're going to put out next is got a poll about which is your favorite I'm going to wreck somebody faction. That's what I want to know in the first time we ask. It's not my favorite way to play, but someone just mentioned the Pluton, actually, from our,
they are very mean.
Italian Empire is the meanest faction.
I think it's quite tense because it's just this little countdown, and you need to be like, where are you at? And it's not a big clock, so you're kind of like, okay, where are you at? Like, because what if they, hi Ellie, because what if you're going for a track and trying to get discovery tokens, and they're just like,
I'll take that.
I'll take that. Like they get they go up supremacy and they nab, the development one, and you're just like, that I wanted that one. So it's just this unknown factor about them that makes it tense with them.
This is a fun fact. The Terminator did not exist when I first saw the game from Luke, and Luke did not have the custom ships weren't in there, and the Nebula and Cloud people were sort of in there but not really fleshed out. And I said, I want a faction to feel thematic. I want to feel like I understand what they're doing. I want a custom ship. And that's when Luke sort of said, all right, got you. We got you. And the Terminator was the first ship. He's like, there you go. There's a thematic. This is what you get to build the Terminator.
That's really cool.
That's a good one.
It's really cool. So what are you playing tonight?
You destroyed Unity with the Astrodracus yesterday. Oh, nice. That's good. The ability of the Astrodracus actually stems from a Dwellings card that I wanted to have happen, because I wanted you to be able to come out from your Dwellings. So your Dwellings normally and your developments in Andromeda's Edge, they don't count for worker placement. They aren't anything. But we came up with that card in Dwellings, and then Luke found a way to make that the Astrodracus's power. Dragon Layers. Dragon's Lair, which I think is funny because there's all sorts of Easter eggs in this game, but I thought that was fun. That's a great power, and I didn't even think about how good that is until Maximus pointed out that you just build next to a field, and then all day long you can launch that field with no obstacle. Like there's just nothing blocking you, which is amazing.
Yeah,
because normally you can only place when you're coming up for a first launch, it has to be unoccupied. However, if you're using your nearby development to the Maximus field, then your second placement, which is what it is, can be occupied. So you're not blocked ever from getting into a module field. It's the Lighthouse. You're right. That's what it is in Dwellings, the Lighthouse. A card that you can only get once in a while, only if you're playing with light, and only if you're lucky to see that come up in the adventure market. You can get the Lighthouse. Now you could play with it every game if you want.
Nice.
If you fight everybody for control of the Astrodracus. You have to settle a battle before playing. I'm actually going to... I think you mentioned what are we going to play tonight, because actually I'm going to play a game that's not Andromeda's Edge. It's blasphemy, I know. I am going to play a game that is ranked higher. So in the top games coming to Essen Spiel, there are Andromeda's Edge is at the 20th most anticipated spot. Okay. Now I can tell you as a hint, the top 2, the top 1 most anticipated game of all is a game called SETI. So now I got to go see what's happening with that sci-fi game. And the second one is an expansion to White Castle, which of course is very, very interesting. But tonight, so that's 1 and 2. Andromeda's at 20. Tonight I'm going to play one that's ranked above Andromeda's Edge that I've never played before, and see what it is like. I don't know if anyone has any guess of what. It's a heavy game, very thematic, extremely thematic game. And it is ranked higher in anticipation than Andromeda's Edge. So I've got to see what this game's all about. The designer is actually local in Los Angeles. And she designed this game from personal experience, and so I can't wait to find out what it's like to basically play this meaty, game about a certain thematic industry. We're talking about rock and roll. So yeah, I'm playing the 1977. Let's see, the actual title. It's by DeVere Games. Is Rock Hard. I think it's Rock Hard 1977.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, how Jill says, how could it be ranked higher? I don't know. DeVere knows what the heck they're doing, because they have so many of the top games going on right now.
They do. I just got Castles, and I'm excited to play it.
But they, of
Cities.
course,
Cities. That's what it's called.
Cities. I can't wait to play as well. But Jackie's game, I mean, she poured a lot into it and knows the music industry, so I can't wait to see how the music industry is translated into a board game experience. I do think there's a lot of people who have tried to crack that before, so I'm really hoping this one nails it.
I love Draft and Write Records.
Oh yeah,
by Inside Up. It's a really good. It's combolicious, as you would say. And it's entirely like just tick this, and then that gets ticked off, and then that gets ticked off. And because you're drafting what you get to sort of tick off, it's very interesting. So yeah.
I will tell you a funny story about Andromeda's Edge theme. So some people will say that Andromeda's Edge has theme. I would be one of those people to say that it does have theme. And I say Dwellings of Eldervale has theme. And what I love about when we're getting a game from Luke Laurie is that he and Maximus were also always thinking about theme, just the same way that I think Alex and Peter thought about theme. Every animal in Critter Kitchen, their power is tied to, I would say, oh, I want to change this power. And Peter would say, oh, you can't, because that animal specifically does this, and that's how the power was created. So in Dwellings, I always loved how the light cards were about sort of glorious, self-sacrifice, and then there was red cards that were burning down other people's cards, and the blue cards were about transmutation and these kind of liquid ways of playing, and the darkness cards, well, they bring back things from the dead. And there was all that theme in there, but I actually heard a reviewer say that Dwellings has zero theme. Like, straight face, Dwellings has no theme on it. And I thought, I don't know what games you're playing that have theme, that have, I just don't know where you're coming from with that. So, but I know that that person has already said, I think they've already said Andromeda's Edge also has no theme. So it's just funny to me.
Maybe it means like story rather than theme.
Story. It could be a sense of a different way of immersion than what I'm thinking of. Because I know what there's someone who said, I don't know that I feel the lore was brought into the game. Like, okay, so I just talked about how the Nebula and Cloud people are one of my favorites, and when Luke pitched it, he was like, these are explorers looking for science, and they want to take all of the energy from the Nebula. That's not in the game. You're playing a worker placement game. You're a desperate faction, but you should feel the overall limited resources. Raiders are trying to kill me from all sides. I'm trying to rebuild my civilization, but it doesn't go deeper than that. But it's thematic in the sense that, in the sense that when we thought of a blob faction, that damage just sluices right through the blobs. When we thought of, organic matter being built by the fungus, it's thematic. It's just not. It doesn't. It doesn't actually go into maybe the different type that they're looking for, which is, I think Peter is also trying to mention it. What does this simulate? And then what helps you remember these mechanisms?
If you could put the lore into some kind of product, whether it be like collector's cards or something, what would you give people, like, to give them that story piece with their game?
Well, it's tough because, for example, I back Awaken Realms products, and Awaken Realms puts out these storybooks, these thick, amazing bits of lore, and I've actually seen it in Vindication too. I love Orange Nebula. They put all of this story in there, but it's still outside the game to me. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of Ryan Lockett's stuff, but again, it's very tricky to put that kind of experience inside a game, because are we playing the game or are we telling a story? This is actually something that I think about a lot, because we're doing the same kind of challenge in Flamebound. We're trying to think about these kind of things. I watched, we were playing Near and Far one time, and someone was really getting into the story, but they weren't really playing the game. And at some point it was like, which one of these things is this thing?
Yeah.
So as a story about how that first started, in Dwellings of Eldervale, I wanted a lot more story. In fact, I wanted this overarching narrative to be present in the cards in a way that, like, if you drafted a dwarf and the dwarves were mining the mountains for gold, I wanted the mountains to run out of gold. I wanted there to be these effects where if you summoned imps, they were burning the tiles, and then eventually the tiles would be on fire and you would take damage to go in them. I wanted originally it didn't work out. I wanted more story. So there was like this, you drew a tile, you explored a chaos realm, and then events or things happened that sort of felt like, okay, the rules have changed and there's this new thing. But you know what? When you're trying to put that in a worker placement game, that sounds all fine and good, but the game falls apart. The actual game core has to work.
Yeah.
So,
but if people wanted more, but they didn't have to be added to the game, I think my brain would be like, would you make like, pins of these, and on the back of the card it could say a little bit of lore about them, for people to kind of like, people who are fans of it who just want more.
I have heard that so a lot of times a game will put like the lore would be here and then you're playing here. We did think about putting like the Nebulon people's lore right here, but we really had a lot of other things we wanted to we wanted to get the resources in their icon and also keep the it was hard to.
You don't want to cover up the art with more and more and more text, do you?
Yeah.
You get the three. Also, you got to pick between 3 factions, so it's a lot to read already, and then you're like, there's more to read. So
I mean, I said it in the game that I talked about today, the City of Big Shoulders. What happens when you pick a faction there is you pick like Schwinn Bicycle, right? And you get a whole faction, and it's a big fat card. It's like really thick, and then the entire back is Schwinn Bicycles was started in 1904 by Schwinn and the 2 brothers. You get like the entire thing, and when it's not your turn, it's actually awesome to read that. So I do appreciate it, and I do like it.
Andromeda's Edge comic book.
There you go. That's what we're gonna do. Clearly, the Andromeda's Edge
comic book. Takanoko has a comic book.
Needs to be in the next one.
I think there's 1 or 2 that have made comic books with that.
We did make an appendix, and we put some lore in there, and we do have it on the campaign where we are trying to share it with people. And I think what would be fun to do maybe is to build on it in BGG someday, maybe put lore over there, because one of the things that, and this happens with Alex on Critter Kitchen, would write like all this lore, like this restaurant behind the scenes stuff, which helps us create the world, and then sometimes is just not what anybody else wants, and sometimes people do want it. On Flamecraft, we actually put a whole book together because people were asking for it. So I do get it that people want it. Sergio Chavez also does so much sketches and behind the scenes stuff. Someday I would love to show what he's doing. Maybe on the next one we're working with him on is a game called Whisperwood. Maybe we could look at like some way to capture some of that Whisperwood, like raw stuff. Really great.
He's amazing. So cool. I want wallpaper.
Comic book with Moonrakers. That's how that came up, huh?
Yes, that's the one. I knew there was an Ivy Studios one with a comic book. I remember now. They're only little. Like, yeah, it's cool.
All right. Well, should we call it?
Probably best.
Let's do that.
I have to go. I actually, Doug's not here, so I have to cook. So
okay. We're going to put up the faction video for the Weldon Forge Folk, the best faction of Andromeda's Edge.
Imminently, so you can go and...
There you go. You can check it out. We'll get an update for anybody who's still waiting for the copy of Andromeda's Edge. We're delivering more and more. We've got up to 23 countries. And if we didn't answer a question about Andromeda's Edge or any of our games that we're making, feel free to ask us, because we're happy to chat games all day long. You can ask us in Facebook. We got Facebook groups for each of one of our games. You can actually You can actually still get Critter Kitchen, by the way, if you appreciate deluxe games and you don't have that one yet. But you can go in our Discord, and we've got chances of you can play Critter Kitchen, you can play Andromeda's Edge, you can play Flamecraft, and interact with all the communities that we have, and of course on the campaigns themselves or on YouTube. Like, chat us up. Everybody have a great weekend, and game on. All right, go play some games.